better. Oh! No! I still don't have enough. Hello? Yo! Oh, open up! Open up! I'm sorry. It seems like the sandbox game drought has finally come to an end. Now, of course, this is during the very early days of the game's development, and we all know content is key to a game like this. So, of course, what can we actually expect, and why are there so many different games to try and play? To give you a simple summary, Gary took it upon himself and also alongside his game studio Facepunch to create a game jam with a 20,000 British pound cash prize pool. This would be more than enough to give the community initiative for devs to work on games and also have the chance to take home a USD equivalent of $12,000. But I hopped on Sandbox to truly see what folks had to offer. And then I noticed there was a total of 85 submissions, which is just insane. So it's obvious I probably won't be able to try every game for this video, as it'll probably be over an hour long. So today I'll be showcasing games that may be worth your time. But if you want to check out more, definitely grab yourself a key for early access to Sandbox, load up the game, and check it out for yourself. Starting off in no particular order,
Your stream is lobotomizing itself.
oh my god! Wetwork by 3 Thieves is an objective-based zombie survival shooter game. The concept is fairly simple. Choose your difficulty, exit into the decontamination chamber, and begin. Once you exit the chamber, it'll give you an objective to do and most of the map to explore. Depending on where you're exploring to get to the main objective, the game will also have red gate doors that require you to stay and defend before they're able to be opened up so you can move forward within the map. The level of swarms you're bound to experience is dependent on which difficulty you end up picking in the beginning. At one point, we're starting with the medium difficulty and then chose hard. Medium was pretty fair and sometimes slightly challenging, but a breeze to glide through with over 4 players max in the game. Hard was very challenging, as the game would throw a good amount of enemies to you, including some others that threw fireballs at you and took more damage before killing them. There was some fun bits to experience within the game, like the exploration, which could sometimes lead you to dead ends and possibly have hilarious moments like this.
Also gonna pop too. Like this gives. It's a dead end. It's a dead end. It's a dead end.
Now, in terms of some negatives, the only negatives I actually seen were pretty much the performance and the game size. But it was already mentioned by 3 Thieves that the game itself would be downscaling in download size once Sandbox allows them to do procedurally generated maps. So that's cool to hear. And while performance was not great, sometimes the ragdolling of enemies after you kill them will greatly cause your frame rate to dip all the way down to the 10s, which is pretty rough, but this might just be a Sandbox issue overall. Aside from that, if you're looking for a fun objective-based zombie shooter game like this, then definitely check it out. Next is Rogue Arena by Eagle One. I had to ask for some help from someone, so of course I invited Gavardos to assist me in trying this game out, and honestly it was a ton of fun for both of us. So to sum up the gameplay loop, according to the video presented in the tutorial, there's 4 characters, which are Knight, Wizard, Alchemist, and Ranger, who've all been sent to death but have been given a chance to fight back for their freedom in the name of survival-styled arena combat.
Whoa.
These criminal scum have opted to fight for their chance to prove their loyalty to our great empire. Should they prove their mettle, they will earn their freedom.
Rogue Arena is a very interesting round-based roguelike arena combat game where you survive against a numerous amount of waves against different type of enemies, use your 3 class abilities, with the 4th being the class ultimate, buy items that randomize in the tavern shop, stack them for effects like most roguelike games, and kick ass when you get back into the arena. The classes that I chose were both the Archer and the Alchemist, while Gavardos had tried the Wizard and the Knight. In terms of the classes that I played, Archer was very interesting, as instead of me just only aiming and shooting with different mouse clicks, I had to hold down the left mouse click and then go to shoot. In terms of my abilities, they were all pretty easy to understand, including having a volley of arrows to shoot, a backdash to then aim mid-air, and for my ultimate was an AoE fire arrow that would burn enemies fairly quick. The Alchemist class was pretty interesting one where you could use majority of your potions as a means to survive, including a chemical burn potion, speed potion, and my ultimate being a freeze potion. The class itself is meant to be a projectile-based class and can be a bit hard to use at times, but was still fun to mess around with. Overall, for the game itself and how far we got, it was all the way to the first boss, which was a ton of fun to experience. But with the group we had, we finally killed off the boss, making it to the next prestige.
Kill it!
I wonder if it was supposed to stand still or if it was supposed to be attacking us.
The only negatives I would say in the game, which one of them again is performance, anytime we'd face against these skeleton enemies, the moment we'd kill them and they would break into gibs, would kill the frame rate down to the 10s, and some animations were a bit rough to experience, specifically with Gavardos' Night class, which did cause him to roll into enemies way too often instead of rolling away from them.
Yeah, my attack, it moves me into the enemy, and then they damage me.
Oh
So
no.
bad. Especially with the zombies.
The game was a ton of fun and well polished in its presentation and worth checking out if you do have a chance to play with at least 3 other people. Next up is My Summer Cottage by Smallfish. This is basically a Finnish citizen simulator game where you can customize your character, their weight, height, and clothing, and the game is also co-op too, which you can play with friends if you like to, but I tried the game solo myself. In this game, you're doing objectives like enjoying the sauna that's provided and enjoy the radio, which also uses real Finnish radio stations, which was really cool to see. An assortment of nagging wife missions, according to the game, some which will take you to the small town to get some food, hunt rabbits for food, or go fishing for food. Yes, I was pretty blind to the objectives in the beginning because I was sidetracked by just trying to get into the game and taking it all in, but after being yelled at by my chat to do the damn objective, I was finally able to do so. In terms of this game, which it's many things to buy and things to do, it was pretty fun being able to explore around, run over deers in the street, and also get almost ran over myself from a speeding drunk Finnish driver.
Can you not still?
The only negatives that was pretty much every once in a while was performance, but it wasn't as bad compared to the other games that I've played since there wasn't too much ragdoll action other than a drunk guy trying to fight me every so often. But the game's very enjoyable, and I definitely will be playing this game more to try to fully complete its interesting story. Dark Descent by Fortune is the next game on our list, and guess what? I've definitely been waiting for this one the most. Reason being is because Fortune has been showing off the development for this game for quite a bit since before the game gen had started. And with the vibe I got, I instantly felt like it was a cool directional combat dungeon crawler game, just like the hit game Dark and Darker. This game, I won't lie, I did get properly into and started to neglect the time that I was going to review these games as I was seriously invested to see how far I could get into the dungeon. The concept of the game is simple. You wake up in a cell, grab the key to the door, and explore around to see where you can escape the dungeon before getting cooked by a skeleton you didn't want to fight. The game's melee combat is one of the core features of the game, making it incredibly strategic on how you fight each individual enemy depending on which weapon you choose. Each weapon does have its own damage stats, including a D added, so I'm wondering if this is a dice roll thing to keep it more like Dungeons & Dragons with its randomized damage output and chance. I could be wrong, but this is still a very cool feature to see. Your weapon direction is dictated with the direction you're facing, so if you want to swing left, you look left, if you want to swing upwards, you look up, and etc. It has been mentioned that this direction system in the game currently is a bit finicky depending on the situation, but it makes the most sense since this is your leading strategy. Weapons do have physics, so there's always a chance that you're not going to be able to hit jack squat if you're using a longsword in a tight quarter the size of one person, and you'll be met with your untimely death in a fight. No! The second mechanic is also surviving the dungeon crawl itself, making sure that any slight mistake leading to your death will make you start all over again and will also have you slowly losing your sanity. Overall, in terms of negatives, can you guess what I'm about to say next? Yeah, it was performance. Moving physical objects around was more of the frame rate killer here, since majority of the time you're not really messing too much with physical objects, other than the occasional box or two or try to find a hidden stash. But the game is a ton of fun, very difficult, and worth checking out if you really want that hardcore melee combat feel. Grug by Ape Tavern is a pretty cool and interesting game. The premise of it is that you're a caveman back in the Stone Age trying to survive the many challenges pre-civilization era that remind you of how truly easy we have it currently as a human species. This includes the occasional nightmare-fueled sloth demon bear thing. Seriously, this thing is terrifying. I don't know why it exists.
Hello? Hello? What is that? Is that a sloth?
Of course, I played the single-player part of the game, as this game is also a multiplayer game. The gameplay was really nice and very simple to understand. You had all the aspects of your typical survival game while also incorporating a skill tree, which every time you would level up, you would get a point to put into one of the 3 sections, which eventually would branch out to their own trees. But the game was pretty relaxing, chill, well-polished in presentation, but again, performance was an issue. If you're truly wondering what my PC specs are, here are the specs because I know I'm gonna get asked this a lot, so there you go. At least you know what my specs are now. Okay, and now we're on to the lightning round. Spitfire, which is a game created by Carson, has you surviving waves of enemies in a Vampire Survivor styled roguelike game that's very fun, has multiplayer and soccer modes, and also achievements for you to complete. Ball 5, or Balls, is a simple way for you to fly through levels trying to break glass as you push further to survive and not die from flying into glass obstacles. Hamster Escape is a physics-based game where you tilt randomly generated obstacle boards to grab gold bars or try to reach the end platform, which can be very difficult and also very satisfying when done right. Bridger is a tug-of-war styled FPS game where you create bridges to cross a lava-filled lake to destroy a robot core across from you. This is a very intense building game between you and robots building platforms with turrets on them to prevent you from reaching across. Revolver Roulette is a bare-bones Western shooter game that takes inspiration from games like Fistful of Frags, where only one person at a time has a loaded bullet in their pistol, but nobody knows who has it, creating an anxiety-driving multiplayer experience that is definitely worth your time once there's more improvements to the performance and, of course, its base map. Terry Target, a game based off of the Monkey Ball series, which has a set of game modes and challenges to choose from, like Escape the Castle, which you have a set time to reach the end of the castle course. Terry Escape, a sandbox-inspired RuneScape game, which has classes, missions, and is entirely online. It's a very simple version of the game with some aspects like leaving the game causing you to be reset back to scratch. And last but not least, Unearthly Technicians, which is a clone similar to the game called Lethal Company. While it's basically almost the same thing, it was fairly simple and bare bones at the time of this video, as both me and Gavardos gave it a try with great interest and intrigue. Once more again, with so many submissions, there was a ton of games that I still haven't covered, like Project M, which definitely caught my eye as this game gave me a sense of a hero-styled shooter on Sandbox and even more. And while majority of these games may seem unfinished or just came out, this means that there's more than enough time for all of these developers to truly work on and improve these games for the foreseeable future. But aside from that, if you enjoyed this video, you'll enjoy this video on screen where I talk about how Sandbox is somewhat cursed. Thanks for watching.